And let's talk about Biden's border carbon tax, if you will. What do you make of this push? There seems to be a whole lot of momentum in this space.
Without a doubt, and I think the EU have the same kind of inclination as well. And it's going to put pressure on our exporters and all exporters right around the world that if you're going to try and say, for example, sell into the US, and Joe Biden has encouraged US companies to be, if you like, carbon cutters, to make sure that his workers and his companies are at a disadvantage, they're going to slug exporters where the track record on carbon emissions reduction isn't very impressive. So it's going to be put pressure on the Morrison government to look at how we compete against other countries of the world. And of course, the companies associated are going to have to really look at it seriously as well.
I wonder if this is a go at China, and then all these other countries, particularly in our region, are going to get caught up in it as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Pete. And I must admit I hadn't considered that, but that is a very good argument that, if you're going to penalise Europeans or Australian companies for not being sufficiently pro-green, of course, China would be also targeted. Of course, historically, in all these sort of greeny meetings around the world, the conferences like the Kyoto Protocols and all that sort of stuff, they tended to give India and China, they cut them some slack on the basis that they've been underdeveloped countries and they're playing catch-up. But now China is the second biggest economy in the world and heading towards being the biggest. You're right, there's probably is a bit of a shot at what China's up to.
Yeah, meanwhile, super investors, Peter, warning directors to lift their climate game.
Yeah, this is we've been thinking about this happening for some time, and some individual super funds have actually started targeting various companies. But now the Australian Council of Superannuation Investors, they basically have a big impact on about $1 trillion worth of super fund money, and they're basically telling the big super funds like Australian Super, Aware, and Q Super to actually look at the companies, and if they're not really delivering on basically environmental promises or setting really high goalposts, if you can set a high goalpost, they will actually stop investing in these companies, which will affect the share price without a doubt. So you can see that the green movement since Joe Biden is really on a roll, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Morrison government to reevaluate their own policies.
Okay, let's finish on the share market, Pete. What is the outlook for the shares and the share market in particular, short term and long term?
Yeah, with the market doing so well, a lot of people are expecting a bit of a sell-off. And of course, there's that old famous saying, Pete, sell in May, go away, come back on St. Leger's Day. And that dates back to the old days when people used to go on holidays and there was no internet. And so stockbrokers would just sort of sell up before their summer holidays in Europe and the US. But now with the age of the internet, it doesn't work as well. But certainly I've looked at some of the technical analysis by some of the best chartist I know, and all the charts are saying short-term and long-term stocks go up, and it's because the stimulus packages right around the world, the low interest rates, and the success of the vaccination rollout, it's all pointing to stocks going up in the short term and the long term.